Hello again, you sick, twisted weather freaks. Welcome to another fun filled, action packed, and intellectually stimulating edition of This Week in Weather. I'm your host, meteorologist DT from WXRIS.com, the Colonel of Confusion, the Captain of Catastrophe, the Commander of Chaos. We have weather to talk about, not just this storm, but another one next week, and the overall pattern change. And man, we are locked into a pattern here, which this could be a big historic pattern here coming up for this winter. This is looking pretty amazing and intense. But first, before we get to that, let's do, of course, the latest of my last call snow forecast map and take a look at this storm. A lot to talk about even on this storm. So here we go. All right, this here is the last call snowfall map and issued here to the clients around noon today, but I'm putting it out here now on the Facebook page on the website. Some changes here. First, I pushed the 6-inch snow line north of Washington, D.C., based upon all the data. We'll look at that in a minute. And also, I extended it somewhat over here into the middle, southern Maryland and into the middle Delmarva. So that's a change. Pulled the 6-inch line out of Roanoke to the northeast. Here, I did that. I pulled it a little bit to the northeast. They could still end up with 6, but, I'm thinking right now, probably not. I'm going to have to stick with that. So I pulled that a little bit to the north. And there, Lynchburg's right on the edge here. The freezing rain, I've got that more north of into Richmond. And the 3-inch line, I'd have very close to Richmond now. I think the southern portion of Chesterfield, Hopewell, Prince George, that area, not going to see any accumulating snow from what I can see. The snow band is going to lift to the north. We'll get into that in a little bit. And then again, the freezing rain down there in the northwest North Carolina. So those are my changes here. So it looks like a pretty good snowstorm for much of central and north Virginia, the Shenandoah Valley, Harrisonburg, which of course has been ripped off in a couple of snowstorms, several snowstorms in the recent past. And into Washington, D.C., Fredericksburg, Stafford, Culpeper, Warrenton, Gainesville, Manassas, Lake Anna, Gordonsville, Orange, Charlottesville, all going to have some fun here. And then you don't forget Southern Maryland as well, St. Mary's in Calvert County, and then into also Tappahannock too. Don't forget about those guys. So a lot to cover there. And let's move on. And now, next map here is an enlargement. So you can just see this in a bit more enlargement. And again, if you see the purplish or I guess a violet color, is that what this is here, violet? The snow comes in midday to evening hours in some of these areas, changes to sleet, goes back to snow. Richmond is over here, so you can see I have most of that now in that area. And this could be optimistic as well. A couple of inches all in this area. I have 3 inches, you can see, but it could be 1 or 2 inches in Richmond. And I'll show you why in just a second. So that's really, been saying this for a while, that Richmond is the battleground area, the tough spot to forecast, and it is. Now these are the current conditions as of 3:30. You can see if you look at the dew points here, we have a lot of temperatures, 37 degrees, dew point 24. 37, 25, that sort of thing. So the atmosphere is cold enough in and around the Richmond metro area to support all snow. It's a little too warm over here in the Newport News. You can see the dew points are near above 32 degrees in this area. But all of this looks really, really good for snow conditions. Same thing out in here. How long it stays that way is a different question. This here is the latest radar here. This is as of 1:45, but the 3 o'clock image is just showing there's more of this stuff here coming in. In fact, let me do this. All right, I just swapped this out. I want to get a more reasonable radar up here. So this is the 4:30 radar. And you can see, if you look at the radar in Richmond, for example, looks like there's snow falling there. Most of it's virga. Notice south of Richmond, not much going on here. So all of this, the snow that is falling, I'm getting reports all up in here. This is all north of Richmond, Northern Neck, D.C. And this whole band here is moving north, as you can see. So that means even though you had this snow here in southwest Virginia earlier, it's now shut off for a while. Now this is the other second part here. Okay, so what's going to happen is this whole dry area is going to push into central Virginia, and this northern area is going to continue to fall, bring snow to the northern half of Virginia, much of Maryland, and northern Delaware. So let's show you how this looks on the short-range models. Now, using the HRR model here, you can clearly see it seems to have the right idea with this band of northern snow. Here's at 5 o'clock, like so. And then look where it just stays that way through 9 p.m. It gets further north of Philly, maybe Allentown, I doubt it, Harrisburg, Lancaster, Pittsburgh, that sort of thing. And then again, all this in here is nothing's going on. Richmond, maybe Charlottesville, Farmville, Lynchburg, South Hill, Danville, Emporia, South Boston. Nothing going on here at 9 p.m. tonight because they're in the dry slot. There's no doubt about it. This is another version of the dry slot. Now, we've talked about that in the past. This is now midnight and then 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, what happens is that as the precip begins to pick up in intensity, the HRR model wants to put sleet and snow back into Richmond here for a couple hours. So if this happens, this is when the snow is going to fall during the late tonight into the early morning hours on Sunday in and around central Virginia. I don't know if this is going to happen. This may stay right over Richmond or just to the north. And most of Richmond and Chesterfield and Prince George and Nottoway, Dinwiddie could be just, sleet or freezing rain, that sort of thing. Meanwhile, all this is now filling in here. DC is getting good snow. Charlottesville, Roanoke, Fredericksburg, Stafford, the Northern Neck, most of the Delmarva, really good snow here at 2 o'clock in the morning. This is 5 a.m. Now, you can see the image on the right. This is the 12Z NAM 3 kilometer. Notice it's got a lot more freezing rain into here into Richmond all the way back to Roanoke. You can see that than it does in this area here. Here it's got a solid stripe of sleet, but it's pretty narrow. Here it's much more expansive. So there's one difference in between the models there early on Sunday morning. So next we have here, let me clear this out. This is the 8 a.m. and during the day. And now the NAM, notice the rain snow line is now well north of Richmond here. See that? Well north of it. Interestingly enough, from several days ago, that is what the FV3 and the European model was showing. So yeah, the models might be right if the rain snow line gets north of Richmond. Then 3 o'clock on Sunday, it looks like it begins to turn cold again. The low is now off the coast. You're getting that north wind. Meanwhile, we're still getting good snow here. 8 o'clock Sunday morning. Baltimore, Dover, Salisbury, Eastern, Cambridge, St. Mary's, Annapolis, Calvert, Manassas, Gainesville, Culpeper, Warrington, Ashburn, Fairfax, all Germantown, all getting the good snow there Sunday morning. No doubt about that. All right, and then here we have, now by the evening, what happens is the low moves off the coast, and then the upper level energy comes by, and we get this little burst of second snow. You see this? Now the low's here off the coast, moving away. You can see it's moving away. And this little thing begins to move back down. So there may be some more snow coming in here to Dover and St. Mary's, continuing, maybe back into Richmond for a couple hours on Sunday night. Maybe. Doesn't look like a big deal, but it might happen. Now we look at our different snowfall maps here. Let me clear this out. Now this is the RGEM. Midday here, and you can see it's got a very nice snow map here, and I think this is pretty reasonable, which is one of the reasons why I kind of used it for my snow map. But interestingly enough, take a look at the snow boundary to the south. Now this black dot, that's Richmond. All right, so north of Richmond there's 4, 5, 6 inches right here, okay, and then south of Richmond and Petersburg there is nothing. That's an amazing gradient here, very short distance of time here. So same thing with Lynchburg. Go look at Lynchburg, 6 inches south of it, nothing. Roanoke 5 inches south of it, 1 or 2. And that's not the only model showing that. This is the 3 kilometer NAM. And you can see it. One of the reasons I extended the snow into this area and increased it was because, oops, let me clear that out, was because of, well, the NAM here at midday, and it's got this, 8 to 12 inch band here. So I've seen some people trying to put that over here. That's not correct. It's right in this area because of this late wraparound snow, which occurs Sunday night. So that's why they get that extra snow there. And you can see it goes into central Delmarva as well, and St. Mary's and Calvert's and the northern neck. And here on the lower right, again, you can see for your purpose, there's Richmond getting, according to this model, a few inches of snow. Now a lot of this is sleet, so this is sleet and down in here. But once you go south of it, it falls apart. Now I think this is way overdone. So I guess it's just wait. It's measuring sleet as snow there. This here is the 12 kilometer NAM, and it's got 12 to 20 inches in DC. This is complete crap. This is just bullshit. But again, one thing that's interesting to note is the dividing line. Even if this get 10 inches of Richmond, which you're not going to, right here, look how sharp it is to the south. So this is what, look at, this is all snow down here. No, it's not. This is freezing rain. Clearly you can see freezing rain. And again, this includes sleet, and you'll see that in the other models. Now this is the I just showed that map. So this one here is the HRDPS, the other high resolution model from the Canadians. And notice how similar it is to the RGEM. There, There, pretty good. And also, again, very clearly showing big increase in snow right in this area. So this is the area I think is going to surprise people right in here. Also, take a look at Richmond again. Look at the dividing line here. Right through Richmond, what's that, 3 or 4 inches? You can see that here. As soon as you go south of it, boom, nothing. Pretty amazing. Really amazing amounts of difference across the Richmond area. And also look at Roanoke too. Very close to Roanoke and Lynchburg. Lynchburg I think is more like in the 6, but just south of it, very sharp dividing line. Now here, this is the RGEM, and you can see that this evening at the 9 p.m. it's got snow in Richmond and up in DC, and you can see the moderate snow over in Southwest Virginia now. Here's the ice down in this area, but this is the NAM, and it's different. Notice at midnight it still has a huge snow hole in and around the Richmond metro area. See that? And this here's the ice and sleet, and this here's your moderate snow. But in Richmond, again, that looks kind of bogus to me. So there you go, 3 kilometer. And then this is, again, at the evening. This is Sunday morning. The rain line, snow line is up by Fredericksburg and close to Charlottesville, if that's correct. So there you go. So again, to review, this is how I see it. And this is why I pushed everything to the north of Richmond, as you can see. All right, let's talk about next weekend. Wow, this one is big. This got potential written all over it. Here we go. Okay, this is what happens. This is Saturday. Now we have this Arctic front coming through, and this is a Arctic front, brutally cold air coming south. This has been forecasted by the models for at least 2 weeks that I know of. It's been showing up. This is part of the polar vortex split, so this is all connected. Now let's look at this very carefully. A lot of information here. Here's the first low. See it? There's a second low forming right here. This is the Arctic front. Boom. See that? Right here. Now ahead of this front, it's warm, 50s and 60s. But here's the snow. What's happening is this is your trough, and the moisture is being evected into the cold air as the cold air is coming south. You see that? That's why you're getting snow behind the front. The special type of situations. Most of the time, as you know, if you're a weather nut, you have your cold front which comes through, right? And then your precipitation is right along the front. And as soon as it clears, it dries out and the sunshine comes out. Not in this case, because the flow is like this, the moisture is being pushed into the Arctic air. Now, here, okay, so that's the GFS. This is now next to Saturday night. The front is pushed on through. It's through Boston. It's through New York City. It's through Washington, D.C. Look at the Arctic high here and the other one here. Bringing the cold air in, but there's our second low forming on the front. And now it's changing over to sleet and snow in central Virginia. Very impressive. And if we look at it in high resolution, zoom in here, this is Sunday morning, snowing like hell in Richmond and Norfolk and Newport News and Williamsburg and the Northern Neck and the Delmarva and southern New Jersey and Emporia and Raleigh, sleet and snow going so, and you can see that. The low moves off the coast, but it's close enough to the coast during the day on Sunday afternoon, so we still have this heavy snow area right in here. Notice that, again, DC misses the snow, Philly misses the snow, New York City misses snow, Richmond gets slammed, Hampton Roads gets slammed, the Delmarva gets slammed, eastern North Carolina. Okay, it's the GFS, blah, blah, blah. I know that. You don't have to tell me I wrote the book on it. But look at the temperatures here, Sunday. 17 degrees next Sunday, and it's snowing. Are you kidding me in Richmond and central Virginia? Are you kidding me? Here, look at the heavy snow here, and you can see it. Very impressive in that area. Okay, it's the GFS. Again, let's move on. This here is the GFS F3. And if you remember, this is the model which got the December 9th snowstorm correct, and it got this weekend storm correct by pushing the rain snow line north of Richmond. So let's see what this is doing. Same sort of thing. Not a big surprise. Very strong model agreement here. Here's your 1047 Arctic high. Really strong. Almost 1050 millibars. There's your first low. There's your second low. Here's the front. You can clearly see it. Now this is Saturday night, January 19th. All right. Now, here it goes. Now, the front pushes through. Boom, Sunday morning, low developing over central North Carolina, and the front is now stalled. You can see it. Boston, just south of Boston, south of New York City, into southeastern Virginia to the low, and then down this way. So the Arctic air is pouring southward, and as a result, precipitation rapidly changes from rain to something else. Here is the front, again, Sunday morning. This is just an enlargement. Same map we just looked at. There it is. You can see the front right here. And the cold air is coming in this way. Now what happens is the models are showing the upper air disturbance, which causes it. This feature, you can see it right here. If you look at the blue line, look at the blue, not the little low pressures. Look at the blue. There's your trough axis. You see it right in here. So what happens is by Sunday night, it's gone negative. A negative tilted long wave trough on the East Coast. Good God Almighty. Let me call my markup so you can see it. There you go, right there. That's the feature. Okay, so now what it does is look at this. The low goes boom, moves off the coast, hugging the coast in a classic setup from this to that. And that's just, look at the winds. Look at these winds behind the low. Are you kidding me? Arctic high here. Look at these howling winds. Unbelievable. And the temperatures go plunging southward. This is Sunday afternoon. Major ice storm, rain going with ice. Boston, New York City, Connecticut, New York, Philadelphia, going over to snow in Philly. South Jersey, ice. All the Delmarva, heavy ice. Southern Maryland, heavy ice. Northern Neck, Middle Peninsula, Richmond, down towards Raleigh. And then behind it, heavy snow in Charlottesville, Virginia, Piedmont, D.C., Baltimore, Philly, so on and so forth. And what happens when the low gets off the coast, God help us, it goes, actually that's the same map, I posted it twice on for there it goes. And you can see what happens. Now the low's off the coast, right? That's what this is. Just zoomed in on it so you can see it more. There you go. Look at that baby. 981 off the coast. This is a blizzard. This is a blizzard. That's what this, if this is right, if this is right, that's a blizzard. I don't want to tell you, that's what this is. There's the low here, you can see it very nicely. There's the low, 981, and you can see here's the ice and the snow line. It's gone over to all snow down in Richmond. The cold air is wrapping in here. You can monster storm. You can see this extremely heavy ice all up and down from Boston down to southern New Jersey to Salisbury, and then inland, and that includes Richmond because of the way this low is shaped and getting the heavy snow. And then it continues up there, wraps up there. Notice that Boston is still getting rain and sleet and freezing rain, and it's not gone to snow yet because the low is right on the coast. New York City's gone over to snow. Albany, Vermont, D.C., but not eastern New England because the low does this, folks. Remember what the low is doing here. According to this FV3 model, it does this. And that means Boston is on the eastern side and the warmer side. In terms of the snowfall amounts, you ready? You ready? Oh my God. And in case you can't read this, by the way, point out to your cities, this here is Richmond, and there's of course DC, and this is Charlottesville. So you see this pink stuff? 18 to 24 inches what this is. And this white stuff, that's 30 inches. And that's 27 inches up in here. See this? Yeah. That's bad. That's pretty massive. Wow. Okay. But let's look at the European, see if it's doing it. Is the European doing it? Well, there's the European ensemble. There's the low over Tennessee on Saturday 19th. And there's the front. Again, warm. Here's the front right here. There's the low. Like this. So this is all warmer ahead of it. So it agrees with that completely. Then the low moves to the coast, goes boom, just like the GFS throws. Here's the European ensemble. There's the big low, just very close to the coast. That means a lot of snow over Virginia, North Carolina, and central Pennsylvania, Maryland. And here's how it progresses. Okay, this is Saturday morning. Next week. Front here, warm, cold air coming southward. Now this is Saturday, 1 p.m., January 19th. There's the front. Okay, snow, rain. This is Saturday night. Boom! Ice in Richmond and going over to snow. Cold air is pouring southward. The snow is so DC about to end. Heavy snow, much of Virginia, West Virginia, you can see that. 1 o'clock Sunday morning. Look at this. Oh my God. Look at this ice storm down in here. Hampton Roads, all the way down to Raleigh. Are you kidding? Wow. And then look at the heavy snow. All of this is super heavy snow. Yeah, there's Richmond. DC is over here, but here's Charlottesville. Over here is Roanoke, Lynchburg, Winston-Salem, Hickory, Greensboro's on the edge. And then even more so, this is just amazing. Look at that. Oh my God. Look at the huge, heavy snow band going into Richmond like this. Whew. Middle Peninsula, Northern Neck, Salisbury. Not, and then, of course, what's even more amazing is the winds. Remember we talked about the winds before? Remember we talked about these winds over here? How strong these winds are? Well, the European is showing the winds. And you can see that, in case you can't read that, that blue and that green here, that's 35, 40 knots. That's wind strong enough to produce, blizzard conditions if we get snow there. The snowfall amount in the European model, wow. I'm kind of speechless. That says a lot for itself. And this is the Kashera. Even more impressive. 22 inch. Oh my God. This is record-breaking snow if it happens in Richmond. I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm just saying if it does. And you can see it's a huge snowstorm in all this area. Notice very tight band. Again, north of D.C., Pennsylvania, Virginia, nothing. South down here, all rain, nothing. It's this narrow band in here. Well, wide band, but in a tight range. You see that? So that's where it is. Very impressive looking system. Very impressive looking system. Whew. Going to be a busy week. The key for this system for next week, the key is the second low on the front. Where does it form? And the track of that low. That's what we have to figure out. We'll see. If for any reason the second low forms way off the coast, if it tracks way off the coast, the rain will change to sleet, it'll change to snow, there'll be an inch or two, that'll be the end of it. That's a possibility too. Remember, we're dealing with 7 days out, 8 days out. This is a pretty good. This is good range for the European. The European does really well in these systems. 7 days out, strong ensemble agreement. We have good signal here, but that could shift 50 or 100 miles. And remember, look how tight that snow gradient is, folks. A shift of 50 or 100 miles is a huge difference here if that's correct. So that this is saying somebody in Virginia and the Delmarva in southern New Jersey could get a really big pounding of snow. But this can shift 30 miles, 50 miles, 100 miles, one way or the other. So this is not set in stone. So the potential exists for something big to happen next weekend. Really. And it seems to favor the Mid-Atlantic region states of southern New Jersey, Delaware, eastern southern Maryland, and Virginia. But that just seems to right now. Again, the key is the second low on the front. Where does it go? Where is it going to form? And the track of the low. This is meteorologist DD from weatherist.com. I'll see you on the Facebook page and on the Twitter page.